Hello, and a very, very good day to you. I hope you had yourself an amazing, amazing Monday and an amazing, amazing weekend. This is the Black Hot Fire news update with me, Dimori. Of course, I'll be telling you about each and everything that was happening throughout the whole of Africa today, over the weekend, and on Friday, because a lot really has been happening. Look at Nigeria, you look at Niger. We're going to be looking at Niger and Nigeria as our main focus, really, but we're also going to be looking at each and every other thing that was happening throughout the whole of Africa. So I hope you stay with me for the next 30 minutes as I take you through each and every headline hitter that was hitting the headlines in Africa. And first, looks like Mali and Ivory Coast are also going to join the Sahel. There has been speculations that I believe are true that Ivory Coast is seeking to exit ECOWAS. The ECOWAS is the economic community of West African states. It's another bloc that we have in West Africa, like so many other blocks. We have several blocks that are supposed to be helping Africans and helping African countries in either trade, in unity, and in many other things. We have the EAC, for example, the East African Community, which is supposed to be helping the people in East Africa unite and supposed to be. I want you to mark supposed to be. We have the IGAD, we have ECOWAS, we have so many economic blocks. So ECOWAS, the first countries to exit the ECOWAS were the Sahel. This is after we had a coup in the Sahel. When I talk about Sahel, I'm talking about Burkina Faso and Niger, Mali. So when we had a coup in Burkina Faso, it was among the first because their chairman is Bola Tinubu, the West African, the Nigerian president. ECOWAS was among the first blocks to threaten that they were going to leave, that they were going to attack Traore if he did not give back power to the democratically elected president. So they say that they were going to attack. Traore told them to go ahead and attack. They never attacked. But they do have a military wing that I don't know what it does apart from threatening countries, because we have a lot of insecurity happening in those ECOWAS states. You look at Nigeria, you look at all those ECOWAS states, there's so much insecurity happening, and yet they claim that it's the economic community of West African states. So it looks like Ivory Coast is going to join the other countries in the same in a leaving ECOWAS. So is Mali. So it looks like it is a mass exit. That is what happens when people start waking up. So you're going to be looking at that. Apart from that, you're going to be looking at Nigerians who are protesting again over the high cost of living as Nigeria joins other African countries in doing the same. That is the likes of Uganda, Kenya. Kenyans will be back in the streets on August. So in Nigeria, they arrested around 700 people after demonstrations broke in the capital city in Abuja. And of course, you know how demonstrations end up in Africa, because we have, I would say, an illiterate police force that does not, I don't even don't even know what to say about the African police force, because sometimes you find that the protests are very, very peaceful, like the Nigerian one, like the Kenyan one, but they'll end up firing bullets and tear gas and killing people. So at least 700 were arrested in Nigeria. Nigeria goes on to continue with its protest, citing the high cost of living that has been happening in Nigeria. The Ugandans were protesting against corruption. So what I love about the protest is how they are beginning with a single agenda, and then somewhere along the way, the people realize that the agenda that they are protesting for is not even the main agenda. There's a bigger agenda. So you look at, for example, in Kenya, it started as reject finance bill protests, but in a few weeks, it became reject IMF. The Ugandan one is about corruption. If they keep on going to the streets, in a few, they'll have known that their biggest enemy is not even corruption, because it's true, corruption is a big enemy in Uganda, but the enemy is bigger than that. The enemy is the enabler of corruption, is the enabler who enables the corruption, who gives the money that gets stolen, who enables the corruption, who hides the money for the ones who steal it from the people of Uganda. So even if the money that was in Uganda was not stolen, Uganda would still not be as developed as it should be, because the neo-colonialism is a big wound that is hurting Ugandans and many other African countries. So the people, it starts like that with a single agenda, and then the people realize that the agenda is even what they are fighting for is bigger than. I told you at first it starts with, for example, in Kenya it was Ruto must go, and then people realized the enemy is even bigger than Ruto. It's the same in Nigeria now, with the Tinubu must go. At some point they're going to realize, yeah, Tinubu should go. He is one of the puppets and he needs to go in order for Nigeria to start rebuilding again. But then you realize that if Tinubu was not there, then somebody else would be there. Some other puppet would be there doing the same thing Tinubu is doing. You realize that if Tinubu leaves tomorrow and the system does not change, then another puppet with a different name will be in that seat doing the same, if not worse, from what he was doing. How many elections have we had? How many leaders have we changed over and over? So it's about coming down with the whole system. And once more Africans realize that, then that is when they're going to realize, to know that the power actually belongs to them. Because one of our biggest strengths, as I always say, that we seem to underappreciate very much, is our numbers. We do have the numbers advantage, but we don't use that as much as we should. We should be taking advantage of the numbers more than we do. So that is we're gonna come back to the Nigerian protest. Apart from that, we are also going to be looking at Niger. There is Nigerian, there is Niger. So and Tinubu was actually calling for calm, telling people that he's about to, he's going to make things better. And a few weeks ago, he did double the wages of all government employees to $44. The people calmed down for a moment and then went back to the streets to protest, because they realized that was being hoodwinked, and they deserve much more than $44 for a minimum wage. So that is we're gonna come back to Nigeria in a bit. In Niger, the US will be handing its last military base in Niger today. This is after it was given a deadline of up to September 15th. It had up to until September 15th to leave the country. That was in an agreement that they had with Nigerian authorities. So Airbase 201, which is in the city of Agadez, is one of the last two hubs the US has used in what it used to call counter-terrorism operations. So they withdrew from Airbase 201 last month. That was Airbase 201 was a small drone base in Niger, in the capital Niamey. And now the Airbase 201 is the last one that the US was operating, claiming to be counter-terrorism operations. Counter-terrorism operations, countering terrorism that you host directly or indirectly, is what they have been taking us for. So the US forces are not the only ones who are going to leave. So will the German troops. They are set to leave this month also. So it looks like all the Western troops will have to leave the Sahel. However, of course, they can't leave without propaganda and without fighting back. So they released a statement talking about how it wasn't a good decision to have Western troops leave the Sahel, because there were groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. So let's say that you kicking us out is going to make the groups, the Al-Qaeda groups and the Islamic State groups, operate now. So all these changes have come after Niger's 2023 military takeover, and the one in Mali in 2020 and the Burkina Faso in 2022. So now it's a combination of three countries that are joining forces in expelling foreign troops and taking. But my main worry about this was when I know Maria is talking about this, was when I saw Nigerians protesting with Russian flags. And at that point, as I said, I think they are going to learn as the protests go on, because at first they may not know, that they may think that Russia is different compared to the US. Russia is the lesser devil. That is, the talk is the lesser devil. At least the Russians are fighting against the US. But then the moment you realize that the Russia and the others are the same, it might actually be the same people realizing that now it's we have to leave Africa now because it's becoming too hot for us. But how are we going to still remain in Africa even after we leave? So now comes in Russia, and the people believe that we kicked out, for example, the people in Niger believe that they kicked out the Germans, they kicked out the US forces, the French forces, and now they have they think that now they have the Russian forces, so it's gonna be better. Might be similar to the 1948 incidents where they were they were leaving African countries while leaving people behind. So one, we have to stop acting in naivety, because I would call that acting in naivety. When I saw Nigerians protesting with Russian flags, that is acting in naivety, because what you should be protesting with are Nigerian flags.
Well, they're
There's
not.
not.
They're not educated enough yet. The more they got to learn. They're not educated enough to know all this. You talking about geopolitical nuances. Uh, they're not. They're not. They've been educated to how the world works yet. So they gotta, you gotta go with your go with your note. Saying if you don't know all that stuff, see, you're coming from an educated perspective because the more you know, the more learned they're not. You think about the people that completely based in propaganda and ignorance. So they look at Russia as saviors. And you're right, Russia's not a savior, but they can be used to your benefit as long as you know that you're being used and what are you getting out of the deal? You can't be
But I
because
think
using people can be beneficial for both of you. Go ahead.
the challenge with people who can be bought is I never trust people who can be bought, because for somebody who can be bought, their loyalty is with the highest bidder.
Of
Look at the
course, but
Wagners. Their loyalty is with the highest bidder, and you have to know that the people you're fighting for have limitless amount of money. They have money to the extremes,
true,
so
true.
they can double whatever you offer the Wagners, and the Wagners still operate in your country, acting like they are acting for you. But they are paid. They don't even hide. They say we are paid. You pay us, we do your work. So you have to know you are competing against people with
But that's but
infinite
that's but that's okay. That's true.
money.
Okay, what you're saying, yeah, infinite funding, which is true. But
Mhm,
okay, if I already know that, if I'm smart to know that, what? Okay, I
mhm,
know that because I'm not. I'm just not militarily capable right now. The more it been 200 years, another 500 years of oppression and kept down. So okay, I know
mhm,
this, but do like the Japanese. The Japanese knew back 200 years ago that they couldn't defeat America. So
mhm.
what they did is, you understand. Okay, I can't really defeat West, but I can use them. So start learning their technology. You teach your people, hey, learn their
Yeah.
technology. You go back and study everything they do and how to do it, so you
Mhm,
now benefit you. That's how Japan became a power because Japan for years would not allow white people to come in the country. They knew that religious shit was gonna take them over. So when white people started coming with that missionary and religious shit, the king of Russia, I mean the king of Japan said, nah, no more. No more white people. Anybody come in when you want to teach a goofy religion, you stay outside of Japan. We catch you here, we're gonna kill you. So a lot of the damn missionaries are getting their heads chopped off. So at that time, Europe wasn't
yeah.
strong enough to invade Japan. When they became strong enough, as they're gonna come back to invade it. So Japan was like, oh shit, nothing we can do about it. They weren't happy with nothing they can do about it. They weren't strong enough. They
Mhm.
said, what we're gonna do, we're gonna placate these white people, but we're gonna go learn all their technology. So we can come back and fight them against it. That's why you got them in World War II fighting, and Japan started to take over the rest of the world because they started learning the Europeans' technology, specifically America. They started going to American schools, bringing the technology back, and slowly as they learned it, they're like, okay, shit, now we can fight these motherfuckers. Now we're out in the open. So sometimes you got no choice but to take humble pie. But understand, like you said, understand what you're doing it for. Because yeah, at the end of the day, The Russians are not your friends. They only do it because it's beneficial to their pocketbook, and that's fine. That's fine. But understand, but like you said, go into this understanding that it's not a friendship, it's a partnership, a business partnership, and you to learn what you can learn off of them, so you can finally stand on your own 2 feet.
The challenge will come
Yeah.
in when we become naive. We delve into naivety and we start trusting them with, it's one thing to learn from them, but it's another thing to trust them with your doors and your locks and your palaces and your presidential guards. So the moment you start
no,
trusting those people
no,
to guard, start
you
trusting
don't
those,
go you don't go that crazy. God damn, the more.
yet the moment you start trusting those people that they are your military backup in case we are attacked, we have the Wagners, then
No.
you'll be shocked on that day when in the battlefield you'll think they are for you and then you realize they are not for you. So it's one thing I do agree with Keith, considering the fact that they are more advanced than we are. They have better warfare. They have better guns. They have better war artillery. They have more skills. Considering we've been struggling, kept in the dark for all those years, we lack of education. We still use 1940s and 1930s aircraft that were used in the world wars. We still use guns that were fought in the First World War. So I do agree with Keith that it is indeed a good idea to include such people. But also you have to be careful not to act in naivety and fully trust them in your military operations. The best they can do is teach. Don't let it pass there, because those are paid mercenaries, and that means that if somebody, and when I say if somebody, then it's a definite that somebody will, because the people you're fighting the people you're fighting with do not even need to have businesses running in order to make money. They can print money. So it's you cannot compete with them money wise. You can offer the Russians 100 million, they'll give them 700. So having them protect your people is a ridiculous idea. Learning from them, maybe. So in Niger, they were kicking out everybody else apart from, I don't know whether they have kicked the Russians out yet. I don't think they have, but it's a good step into the right direction when I see Niger. The last US base will be handed over today, meaning by tomorrow there won't be a single US military boot in Niger. That is, the first one was closed last month. The drone one was closed last month, and this today they are now closing the second one called the Airbase 202. And the Germans are also leaving. The French boots are also leaving. So it's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, but
All.
they never leave. They never truly leave. But they always
Mhm.
want to make some way to stable you and overturn. 'Cause at the end of
And
the day,
mhm.
without Africa, everybody's poor at the moment. Let's just call a spade a spade. Without
Yeah,
Africa, the rest of the world is poor. But go ahead.
I've been looking at what has been happening in Venezuela in regards to the same, and I don't trust that situation at all. I've
I
not
told
made
you, yeah, it's not organic. That's what you call a color revolution. They're trying to overthrow Maduro because they want control of the country. So they're going to say that the election was not fair. So yes, the CIA is down. I'm glad you're able to see it. Fine. CIA is down to destabilize the country because and everybody told you that election that Maduro win was actually fair. All
Yeah,
the
I actually think
eh,
that's the reason. It's because the person they wanted to win never won, and so now if
exactly,
you look at the West, how how the media is framing the toning. You look at the
exactly.
regime. You look at the likes of Elon Musk, and you wonder what interest does Elon Musk have in Venezuela. He's the one who's. You look at the toning, the way that they are. Everybody is now supporting the Venezuelans all of a sudden.
Yeah,
But
because
when
they
it
want
comes
the
to Burkina Faso, when it comes,
they want the coup in there. Yeah, why what business?
yeah,
Because they want the resources, the
mhm,
more in their hands. It's about the resource of the country. Exactly. Why the fuck would you give a shit about Venezuela? What got to do with you? Oh,
yeah.
the resources.
Now all the talk about him being a dictator, he
Yes,
has.
human rights. He's going against human rights, all the fake human rights talk, and being a dictator and all that old shit. because they've been trying to overthrow Venezuela for the last 24 years.
And the algorithm, it looks like they are gonna win. The prime minister resigned, right? Yeah, the prime minister resigned today. So it looks like they might win
In
the early.
Venezuela,
Yeah,
Maduro's not going anywhere because he understands what's being done, and the people understand it's not going to work because
in
all
the
that.
prime minister.
See,
So it's only the prime minister resigned today.
who cares? He's not. He don't control the country. Maduro's the
Yeah.
president. The prime minister has no power in Venezuela.
Hmm.
Who cares what he does? It's the president. So what you see, yeah, Maduro knows what's going on. The Venezuelan know. See, unlike most other countries, the Venezuelan people know when this is a fake protest. So it's not going to work when the people know too much. They know
Hmm.
that they've been trying to overthrow them for the last 20 since 2001, since Chavez won in 2001. So they destroyed the economy. They've tried to overthrow them by destroying the economy, but that didn't work. So now they're trying to do open coups, do these color revolutions that they do. The more response to these revolutions in your country to overthrow you. So that's what they do because it's about them stealing the resources of a country. You're dealing with
And then
psychopaths.
I think that the problem that we have is that if a million people are out in the streets protesting, probably 10 of them were paid. The rest were not paid, and now we find people dying for
Of course,
others are paid, and then they drive the agenda, and so many come out because there's no
of
way.
course,
The number of people I've seen in Venezuela, they were not all paid. Only a
of
few
course,
people, they pay a few
of
influential
course.
people. The few influential people hold the
Exactly,
others to the streets, and now we find that people die for reasons they don't even understand. You ask some,
exactly,
am I fighting against Maduro, and he doesn't know.
exactly.
So and so
Because
say that is
that's
bad, Maduro
that's
bad.
that's right. That's why color revolutions work, Demore. Why the CIA does them. They work, Demore. They work. That's why I do them.
Mhm.
Just like you didn't understand that the Egyptian one was not a real. You thought the Egyptian one was a real revolution.
Yeah,
They worked. That was
he
a
was
color
even the one that
revolution.
showed how you can get paid to set yourself on fire. He was the one who purposely set himself on
Well,
fire.
that don't mean no. That don't mean he got paid. That means he could have been propagandized enough, and he was
Mhm.
so in tuned in that culture, and he's been propagandized. So they made him believe that this is my freedom. Yeah, he was willing to kill himself. So that's what he did. So that brings what legitimacy to
Mhm.
the overthrow, even though it's CIA back. In the beginning, you're like, damn, this gotta be real. He's burning himself up. Look at that. The CIA like, yeah, this is
But I don't think
awesome.
I, I don't even think it's that hard for you to differentiate between organic and inorganic. I mean, even if you have an IQ of a Gambian, it's you can look. Just look at the toning and how they are portrayed. For example, look at Burkina.
They're not
If
as
you
smart.
see
They're
them,
not. They're not as
if you
smart
see
as
them
you,
talk
Demore.
about,
They're not that
if you see
sophisticated.
if you see the US, when I say the US, I mean all the West and the
You know
media.
the
When you see
West
them talking about,
exactly.
yeah, when you see them talking about, you'll have to give back power to the democratically elected government. That was not them.
You
That was
see,
not
but
them.
see, but see, exactly. You know that that's some bullshit because they don't care about the democracy. That's some bullshit. They tell you don't care about the democracy. Why is Paul Bear in power 50 years? Why is Museveni in power 40 years? Why is the other moron, all these fake democracies, people in power for longer than I've been alive? Talking about. They don't give a shit about no democracy. They give a shit about their puppets, you know,
Mhm.
letting them steal their resources and making their private partnerships wealthy. Nothing to do about the people. Fuck the people. The people mired in poverty and ignorance. You know, that's what all that fake public partnerships about. That's what they're doing right now in South Africa. They arranged that election. I knew that was a soft coup in South Africa. All the information is coming out because they knew people were getting mad. They were understanding that the
Mhm.
ANC, who they control, was not delivering, and they were
Mhm.
going to eventually, be out of power. So they funded. You can see all the links of the CIA
Mhm.
funding that a whatever that like that white party name is. They got funded by the CIA.
It's called the DP.
Yeah, they got funded by the CIA, and so it's because they want to make sure that they privatize all your resources and it goes to them for fake money, where they
Mhm.
got complete control and stealing the wealth out of a country. Because, like you said, you had Jules Molina out there talking about nationalization. They said, "Oh, we got to stop that shit because he's gonna gain momentum because we've been robbing and stealing since they got their fake independence for 30 years.
Mhm.
You only can keep a people stupid and dumb for so long when they're gonna erupt. It's gonna be a powder keg. So that's what you was experiencing. So they know that. So that's what's happening in Kenya now. Kenya's a powder keg, and they thought they could steal the rest of the country, but they put
Mhm.
their puppet Ruto in because they were hoping with the tribalism, that shit. Because that's what happened in even though Nigeria's having protests, you still see the tribal element. You got the Aruba saying we're not going to be involved in this with the houses. You got the Yoruba talking about we're not going to be involved in this with the damn Igbos. You're like, God damn, they still haven't grown up. They still haven't grown up. Understand? That's what they
But
want you to do.
at least it gives me hope knowing that they will. It's a good step. The fact that they are already in the streets.
It is. It is a good step.
Yeah.
I'm not. I think it's a good step. I think it's great. I just said, just keep the tribal shit down, please, guys. Please. You've come too far, and now you're starting to lose your feel like Kenya. But Kenya didn't introduce the tribal shit. You
Like,
morons
come
all on
on.
TikTok. I've
Like,
seen you.
can all of you, for the love of Jollof, relax?
Yeah, I've seen you morons. I've seen you morons all on TikTok talking about the Hausa man, the Yoruba man, the damn evil man. I'm like, can't you all be Nigerian? How about the Nigerian man? Like,
Mm.
good
The
grief,
African man.
the African man. Yeah, can you do that first? If you don't, you're not going to survive this. You guys probably got Tinubu scared and the West scared because you're losing your fear. You're the overwhelming majority. There's no military that can beat 100 million youth in the street. It does not
So the,
exist. It's
so
nowhere.
the next step that we need to, as we almost come to the end, the next step that we need to do as Africans is actually, um, the border division really did, it
Damage,
really
of
put on
course,
us. Yeah.
damage.
The moment that we do away with the border nonsense, we do not have to unite and form one country yet. I don't think we're there yet, but doing away with the border nonsense to a point that if I know something is
That's
affecting
the
Uganda,
beginning.
then I
Exactly, that's
don't
the
sit
beginning.
back and say that is Uganda. Maria and Setu can deal with that. It's not my business.
Yeah, yeah, because
That's
remember,
what
and
we have
remember,
right now.
it wasn't even Uganda. It was just the East African Protectorate when Uganda and Kenya was one.
Yeah.
Under British rule, it was one. There was no
Mm.
Uganda and Kenya. It was one goddamn area called the East Indian British Protectorate. So you're right.
So,
So
but now the
exactly.
problem is now
But
people
see,
think, for
but
example,
see,
if Uganda was at war, then Kenyans would not be concerned. I mean, I'm Kenyan, they're Ugandans. It doesn't concern me. That is why DRC is burning.
I
No
know.
African is concerned. I mean, that's DRC. I'm in
That's on
Burundi. So that
exactly.
doesn't
But
concern
that's
me.
on purpose. That's on purpose. And also remember, these despots, they don't want to open their borders. That that's a threat to their power. They don't want to make it easy access to Africans to learn each other again. It's easy to rule a people when you keep them ignorant and divided. The more it's
Mhm.
harder to rule a people once I start knowing you. Say, oh, now I'm getting familiar with you again. You're just like me. We're Africans. We got little differences. You eat this, I eat that. We're the same. So you start bridging those gaps of understanding, and that's dangerous because now you don't see yourself as the other. You see yourself as the same.
But the problem is this type of talk is what made Nkrumah saw what he saw, and he did not like what he saw. When he started talking about the independence of Ghana and the independence of Africa, and
Yeah.
they never like this type of talk. They want us
No.
divided. They
Yeah.
want
Because that's
me. They want me and Maria feeling different because Maria is Ugandan and I'm Kenyan.
yeah. Because that's the money. I don't want you uniting. Look this up real quick. See if see see if see if Google has hit this. Say say founding director of the FBI. Say founding director of the FBI, Herbert Hoover. I'm not Herbert. I'm not Herbert. Herbert. The founding director. That's J. Edgar Hoover. My fault. Founding director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, said the threat, number one threat was African Americans and Africans on the continent uniting.
Yeah, I think I've checked this out some other day and we
Mhm.
saw it.
Mhm.
That was why they never liked the likes of uh Tom Boyer, who would come to the likes of Pioga Mapin,
Exactly.
who would come to the US and have a talk with the likes of um with the
Exactly.
nationalists, the Pan Africans that we had
Yeah.
in the US.
The Malcolm, the Malcolm X's and the others.
Yeah, the likes
Exactly.
of the Malcolm X. That is why they never wanted that to happen. And for that, the likes of Pioga Mapinto were murdered, the likes of Tom Boyer, the likes of Malcolm X, and so many others, because there was that other American that I'm forgetting the name, who was also very big on the unification of Africa, who was telling Africans to go back home. The Africans in the
Oh,
US go back
Marcus
home.
Garvey. Marcus Garvey.
Mm.
Okay.
So basically, that is everything that was happening in Africa today, with Nigerians out in the streets protesting again, and with the US military about to leave Niger. The last base will be closed today. So Joby is telling me she has a very hot show prepared for you today. So make sure you join Joby in the next few minutes. Um, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, family. It's always a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen.
Much love, family.